Is Iraq's regime of President Saddam Hussein a clear and present danger to the United States?
There is no doubt that Saddam Hussein's regime is a danger to the United States and to its allies, to our interest. It is also a danger that is gathering momentum, and it simply makes no sense to wait any longer to do something about the threat that is posed here. As the President has said, the one option that we do not have is to do nothing.
The President has, I think, put it exactly right. He has said that the one choice we don't have is to do nothing.
As the President has said, and as Prime Minister Blair said yesterday, doing nothing is no longer an option.
He has aggressively sought to acquire chemical, biological, and nuclear weapons over the years.
This is a man who has attacked his neighbors twice, who represses his own people.
He used chemical weapons both against the Kurds and against the Iranians during the 1980s.
Who is continuing to develop weapons of mass destruction, has not disarmed.
He's launched ballistic missiles against 4 of his neighbors over the years.
Who's tried to assassinate a former American president, who pays $25,000 to Hamas bombers, by the way, some of whom blew up Hebrew University, and with it 5 Americans.
Before the Gulf War, back in 1990, we had reason to believe then that he had established a program to try to produce a nuclear weapon.
We went in and were able to find out that they were within 6 months to a year of having a nuclear weapon.
History shows that you are always surprised about how quickly someone acquires a terrible weapon. We were surprised that the Soviet program was as far along as it was. We thought it would be 1955, it was 1949.
We have to assume there's more there than we know. What we know is just bits and pieces we gather through the intelligence system, but nobody ever mails you the entire plan.
Our intelligence is always imperfect, and we usually find out that what we don't know is the most troublesome.
He now is trying, through his illicit procurement network, to acquire the equipment he needs to be able to enrich uranium.
Aluminum tubes.
Specifically aluminum tubes. There's a story in the New York Times this morning.
Reporting just this morning that he is still trying to acquire, for example, some of the specialized aluminum tubing one needs to develop centrifuges that would give you an enrichment capability.
Scott Ritter, a former United Nations weapons inspector, today addressed the Iraqi National Assembly and basically made the point that there are no problems as far as Iraq is concerned. Listen specifically to what he said.
The rhetoric of fear that is disseminated by my government and others has not to date been backed up by hard facts that substantiate any allegations that Iraq is today in possession of weapons of mass destruction or has links to terror groups responsible for attacking the United States.
We have facts, not speculation. Scott is certainly entitled to his opinion, but I'm afraid that I would not place the security of my nation and the security of our friends in the region on that kind of an assertion by somebody who's not in the intelligence chain any longer.
Is there any hard evidence directly linking the Iraqi government to al-Qaeda and the 9/11 terror attacks against the United States?
There is certainly evidence that al-Qaeda people have been in Iraq.
We've seen in connection with the hijackers, of course, Mohammed Atta, who was the lead hijacker, did apparently travel to Prague on a number of occasions. And on at least one occasion, we have reporting that places him in Prague with a senior Iraqi intelligence official a few months before the attack on the World Trade Center.
It's just more of a picture that is emerging, that there may well have been contacts between al-Qaeda and Saddam Hussein's regime. There are others, and we will be laying out the case.
Again, I want to separate out 9/11 from the other relationships between Iraq and the al-Qaeda organization. But there is a pattern of relationships going back many years.
One of the things we learned from September 11th was that the intent of the terrorists and those who would supply them with weapons of mass destruction is very, very clear. They're to wipe out our way of life.
The problem here is that there will always be some uncertainty about how quickly he can acquire a nuclear weapon. But we don't want the smoking gun to be a mushroom cloud.